Hi guys, my name's Doug. Welcome to my messy garage. Tonight we're going to be working on a 2011 RXT X260 Sea Doo. We're going to be mounting a Garmin Echomap transducer. In the last video we mounted the boarding step. We didn't put the sealant on it. And the reason we didn't do that is because we're going to be removing the right hand side and mounting the transducer. This is the Garmin Echomap transducer, and my plan, at least at this point, is to make an aluminum bracket that will put it approximately there, at whatever height is required. We'll run the cable back up inside and route it up to the front where it will connect up to the chart plotter. Here we have a template that came with the chart plotter and transducer. And the first step we need to do is trim off the bottom. And according to the little diagram, it says that this bottom corner should be even with the bottom of the hull. So that is approximately where we are going to place the template. This distance here, although it says to trim it off, I want to have some room to bring the bracket out, bend it, come back a little bit so that it clears the shape of the hull and then bends out flat again. So the first thing we need to do is tape this to the hull and get a few measurements to figure out exactly where this thing has to go in relation to the step. So follow along and we'll get this assembled. Okay, now when we were putting the step onto the machine, we were using inch measurements because they made sense. Didn't have to deal with decimals of a millimeter. However, the metal cutting equipment that I'm going to be using today is sized in millimeters, so we're going to have to switch to metric system. Apologize to those that are metrically challenged. Pulling up on the border where I have, I can generally go either way. So, coming across, the width of the bracket is 70 millimeters. So we'll start off with the bracket that is going to go behind the step, and it's going to be 70 millimeters. Height, Now we need some tape. Put that on. Now, to figure out how far the bracket is going to need to drop to provide the optimal position for the transducer, we need to measure down from the top 35 millimeters. Now we need to measure from the bottom down 25 millimeters. And now I need to decide how far back we want the bracket to come. I'm going to be building this out of 3.5 mil aluminum. Honestly, it's 1/8 inch aluminum. I have 6061 T6, and so we're probably going to come back, let's call it 20 millimeters. So this will be 20, and now we need to decide the width of our transducer, and it is 65, and the height is set off this. Just under 60. This is 75. So essentially we're going to have our box here, step down, and then another tab. And we're going to be bent something like this, and the angle of the leg will be set depending on the position of the that we the final position that we need for the transducer. Well, here we are at the computer, guys. We're going to use Fusion 360 to lay this part out to cut on the CNC machine. We're going to start off with a sketch. The thing to keep in mind here is that the blue axis is the axis that is Z on my CNC machine, so it needs to be straight up. So we click on that axis to start with, and we get ourselves a little bit of room to work from the origin. L is aligned, so we go from the origin and we're going to come over, and we got to go 70 millimeters. Let's type in 70, hit enter, gives us a line. L, we're going to come up 83 millimeters, back over 70, and back down. That gives us the pad that we're going to put under the mounting bracket for the step. Next, we need to make the mounting bracket for the transducer. So, line, we're going to come over 20 millimeters. We're going to come down 25 millimeters. And then we will put the diagonal on there. The width of this pad is 65. The height is 75. And a trick, we can come down to this point, and Fusion will automatically fill or line us up with that point. Line from here to close the circle. Now we have a couple construction lines in here that we need to get rid of. So hit T for trim, 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 and trim. That gives us the general shape of what we're looking for. However, because we're using a round router bit, we can't make sharp corners very easily. So we're going to use a fillet, and 5 millimeter fillet should be lots. And this last fillet is a little tricky because the origin is there. I can't just go over the corner. I actually have to select the two adjacent sides, and then so there we are. That is our general shape. This piece will be underneath the step. This angle will be bent out away from the hull. This angle will bend parallel to the step but be set back slightly and down. You'll note that I didn't lay out any holes. While Fusion 360 is perfectly capable of laying out holes, I find that my CNC router doesn't cut them real well, and I think we'll get a better job if we use those transfer punches like we did when we put the step onto the Sea Doo. So we're done with the flat piece. We close the sketch and now we extrude. And I'm using 1/8 inch aluminum for this. However, I've had a few issues with the part not cutting all the way through, so I think we're going to go with 3.3 millimeters. So Fusion gives us a look at what the part will look like. Now we need to go from design to manufacture, and we're going to do a 2D contour because that gives us the outside. We want tabs. That holds the workpiece inside of the aluminum after we're done cutting so that it doesn't break loose and jam and break the bit. Hi guys, here we are out in the garage. We've got the CNC router that you can see fired up, ready to start moving. And over here on the computer we've got the Tiny G interface program connected to COM port 3. And if I hit the jog buttons, we can see it will move the controls. So we're down fairly close to the surface of the aluminum. We've got our feeler gauge. As you can tell, this is a well-used feeler gauge. Set that under the bit. You can hear the stepper motors clicking, and I just bring it down to the point where it drags, bring it up, and there we are. The magic flood lubricant that I use. And I'm going to turn the audio off because you guys don't want to listen to a Bosch Colt router running at full speed. Well, despite my best efforts, something screwed up in the setup, and I had to abort the cut a little bit early because it cut through already. And you can see a little bit of something caught the edge of the piece. I'm not terribly concerned about that. I'm pretty happy with the cut. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not, but that's one of the better cuts that this machine has ever made. And you can see over here there's a couple of aborted attempts. Problems I had there was the first time I tried it, the origin was in the middle, and it was screwing up when it went over to find where it was going to start cutting. The other issue that I had was the bit was dull. Router bits, of course, cutting aluminum, they don't last forever, and that one gave up. Didn't want to cut. So this is a brand new router bit, and it has done. I'm impressed. Let me get that part cleaned up and I'll show it to you again. So here's the piece with the worst of the shavings wiped off it. This, the bit definitely touched here, but I hardly catch my thumbnail on it, so I'm not terribly worried about it. The edge I'm very happy with. Touch that up a little bit with a file and it'll be perfect. Let me throw a couple of bends in this after I clean the edge up just a little bit better with a file, and I'll bring you back when it's all ready to... Hi guys, we're back at the Sea Doo. Bracket made. We'll go behind here, and the first step is we need to pull the screws out of the bracket. A little in the hole and around the hole. We don't want too much squeezing out. There we go. Now, we need to mount that. The idea being that we want that to land in relatively undisturbed water. We'll put this piece of ruler in behind here, just so that it doesn't stab into the hull. These hold quick deburring. And the M4 bolt goes in there just nice. A little trick when working in a blind hole. A little tape over the head of the wrench holds the nut in place. And allows us to tighten up the screw. Both of those are good and snug. Now with that tightened up, and then it's time to run the wire. Have you ever noticed when you have a drawer full of tools, you can never reach in there and grab the one that you need? If you need a Phillips screwdriver, every one that you pull out will be something but a Phillips screwdriver. When you need a flat blade, every screwdriver you pull out will be a Phillips. There we go. Good and stable. And other than the boarding step, we didn't have to drill any holes in the hull. Quite happy with how that turned out. I'm not sure what went through here, but a previous owner has put a notch in the lip of this bin for something, and I'm thinking that that is going to be just about perfect to run the cord for the transducer through. I don't want to drill any more holes in the hull if I can avoid it. So let me run the cable up and then I'll show you what I did. Okay, unfortunately I have to finish this on my cell phone because battery died in my Sony Handycam. Cable runs through that nice little notch. I'll have to tie wrap that up a little bit better. Cable's tucked in alongside the foam, back away from any hot objects. Got it nicely bundled up here and run the same way into the vent tube and up through the vent that I did with the power cable. Run it alongside and plug into the back of the unit. And of course the sonar isn't going to work properly with the machine out of the water, but at least you'll see that it works. I haven't played with the setup. I'll have to go through and make sure that I've got it operating in the way that most suits my needs. Anyways guys, that's it for this video. This has been a bit of a struggle getting this one put together. Not that the project was outrageously hard, but it was just one of those things that everything I touched didn't go right. Anyways, we got it done. I'd appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Trying to get YouTube to notice my channel so that I start picking up more subscribers. Thanks for watching.